So I would like to start out this evening by telling you a story. I remember back when I was my son's age. My son is in fourth grade right now. He's 9 years old. But I remember back when I was his age, I heard this word for the first time, mentality, and I thought it was such a cool word that at the time I had a hard time pronunciating words, and I wanted to think of a way that I could remember how to pronunciate the word and actually remember what it meant. And I kept thinking of mental ability. And even to this day, when I hear the word mentality, I think of mental ability. And I want you to think about this for a second because, mentality by definition is the characteristic attitude of mind or a way of thinking. It really is your mental ability, and the most powerful tool you have is between your ears. And that I wanted to start off by talking about this because a lot of people want to play the victim card. They want to blame it on their circumstance or blame it on society or their parents or their upbringing or whatever the case might be. But you have one thing to, we don't, there's a lot of things we can't control in this life, but the one thing we can control is how we decide to take care of ourselves. So you have to have the mindset, you have to have the mentality that you're going to take action, you're going to take control of your health and fitness, and that you're going to be able to achieve the body that you've always desired. So the first thing I want to ask you is, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? And this is one of the most important questions that you need to ask yourself, because you obviously need to know what your goals are. But even more important than your goals is why you want to accomplish your health and fitness goals. So maybe your goal is to lose 20 to 30 pounds. Maybe your goal is to put on 10 pounds of adequate lean muscle mass. But it has to be deeper than that. It has to be more than just the cosmetic goal. Is it to be able to spend, be able to pick up your grandkids, or to spend time with your significant other, or to be able to spend your retirement years with your significant other? It doesn't really matter what your why is, but that is going to be the driving force that's going to make you get up every day, that's going to make you eat in threes, make you stabilize your blood sugar, follow your meal plan, make sure that you're consistent with your workouts. So I pose that question to you. What are your goals, and why are they your goals? So think about that for just a second. Okay, so I want to move on and talk about the psychology of appetite management. And I love this quote because understanding a process as complex as appetite, one that involves taste, smell, sight, texture, brain chemistry, gut chemistry, metabolism, and most confounding of all, psychology, is exponentially harder, but science is trying. I love this quote because nutrition is a very complex subject, and we're just at the brink of understanding some of the complexities when it comes to nutrition. And the human drive is to eat and to procreate. Our mortal desire is really to eat. And it's a survival mechanism. And without the sense of satisfaction, people would not be able to accomplish their goals. So you have to make sure that you're satisfied, as you're going through this 4-week sprint or this 8-week run. You have to make sure that you're feeling satiated in between meals, because if you're not, chances are you're going to fall off track. So let's talk about the psychology of deprivation. And this is typically what happens. When people follow a diet, when they follow a meal plan, they do great for the first couple of weeks. And I remember back when I first started in the fitness industry, I thought I was a great trainer, but hindsight being 2020, I look back at it and I was not a very good trainer at the beginning, because what I did is I sat down. Now, at least I sat down and I talked to my clients about nutrition, but I would give them a very detailed and customized meal plan to follow. And you know, the problem is that if you refrain from eating the foods that you like to eat, if you feel like you're dieting, you may do well the first couple of weeks, but then the cravings are going to increase. They're going to intensify, and then all of a sudden you're going to blow it. you're going to have a binging episode, or you'll just fall off track. But as a result of that, you're going to feel guilty, and then you're going to have a tendency to blow it, or to give up completely. So we've got to overcome the diet mentality, the diet mental ability. The whole point of this program is to help you realize that this is going to be a lifestyle change. It has to be something that you're going to do for the rest of your life. And maybe, the first time that you go through this program, you may start eating in threes. You may start eating every 3 to 4 hours. And if that's the one thing that you take away from this, from the first time you do this program, that's great. Then the next time you can start adding something else in. And once it becomes habitual, once you start developing the right habits, these are lifestyle changes that you're going to be able to make long term. They're going to be long term, and as a result, you're going to see success. So, I'll, you know, most people want to blame their failure. I want to tell you, your failures are not due to your lack of willpower. Society wants to say that, the reason you're falling off track, or the reason that you're not successful with the diet, or with a certain way of eating, is because of your lack of willpower. And I'm telling you, there's so much more to it than just your lack of willpower. There's a lot of psychology uh, involved here, and you need to understand the people, the places, or the playthings that might hinder you from reaching your goals. We call these triggers. And food is really no different than any illicit substance you can put into your body. But food, sugar specifically, can be a drug. And they've done a number of research studies that have shown that sugar lights up the same parts of the brain as some illicit substances. And in drug rehabilitation centers, they teach this philosophy of identifying what your triggers are, and then playing the red tape through. I'm calling them the three P's: the people, places, and playthings that may be those triggers. But I want you to think about that for a second. What are the triggers that are hindering you from reaching your goals? There could be certain people that you hang out with. Maybe it's your significant other. Maybe they're not the best example. Maybe it's certain friends that you associate with, or certain restaurants you go to. I mean, there could be a number of factors of what might be an actual trigger and cause you to fall off plan. So I want you to think about that for a second. And then, play that red tape through. So you decide to go out with your friends, and you go to your favorite Mexican restaurant. If you go to that restaurant, you're going to sit down and have chips and salsa. You're going to have some guacamole. Your friends are going to try to tempt you to order a margarita, or whatever the case might be. Those are really big triggers, and chances are you will fall off plan. And so play that red tape through. So what happens after that? How are you going to feel the next day? How far is that going to set you back from reaching your goal? And sometimes when you play that red tape through, you no longer have the urge to be in a situation like that. And that's part of that's one coping mechanism that you can develop. So coping skills are necessary. There are a precise, clearly understood set of rules that one must implement in order to achieve a certain goal. And I'm using this example of losing the scale because that's so important. A lot of people are so fixated on the number on the scale, and the last thing that you want to do is keep checking your weight, whether it's daily or weekly, or or even every couple of weeks. But the most important, and we're going to talk about this here in just a second, but one thing I would advise you to do is to just tuck your scale away. Just get rid of it for the next 3 to 4 weeks as we're going through this sprint. And if you're doing an 8-week run, you'll want to put your scale away for at least 3 to 4 weeks, if not throughout the entire duration of this program. So let's talk about the yo-yo dieting mentality. The problem is when people start a diet, their metabolism slows down, and and when they end the diet, they start eating normally again, and then they gain the weight back. Well, what happens is when you diet, there's three different when you start to diet, you're going to start losing water and muscle more than likely. You may lose a little bit of fat, but more than likely, depending on how severe the caloric deficit is, you'll start losing muscle, and that's why your metabolism slows down. People stop eating, and they're not eating in threes. They're not eating every 3 to 4 hours. They're not balancing their protein, their fat, and their carbohydrates, and as a result, their metabolism slows down. Well, when they end the diet and they start eating normally again, they don't just gain back the muscle that they lost, they actually gain back more fat. So when the average American has dieted at least 3 to 4 times, well, as a result, they're probably 3 to 4 times, their body fat percentage is probably 3 to 4 times higher than it would have been had they not even followed a diet in the first place. So that's really important to understand. That's why, I want you to think about this for a second. When you hear the word diet, what do you think of? When you hear the word diet, what do you think of? I know for me personally, when I hear the word diet, the first diet that comes to mind is Jenny Craig. I don't know why. It's probably because of all the commercials that I've seen, but whenever I think of a diet, I think of Jenny Craig. And then I think of like Weight Watchers. And then, I think about the paleo diet, which is, really popular right now. And then, I think about the South Beach and the Atkins diets. And I want you to think about this for a second. What are the first three letters in the word diet spell? DIE, die. All diets are successful temporarily, but in the end, they fail. And that's really the whole point of this education series, is to help you start making better lifestyle choices. You have to make this a way of life. If you think you're going to be dieting for the next 3 to 4 weeks, or the next 8 weeks, you're going to fail. You might be able to take one thing away, and that's great. Hopefully that'll help get you on a successful path. But you have to go into this understanding that you're going to make this a way of life. So I want you to throw away the scale. There's three different types of weight loss. You can lose water, you can lose muscle, and you can lose fat. We've already talked about this a little bit, but the quicker the weight loss, the more likely you are to lose water and muscle. So the best way to determine whether or not you're losing body fat is to have your body composition analyzed, and to determine your lean mass versus your body fat. So that's why we don't want you to weigh yourself, because you may not see the scale move very much, but you're going to notice a big difference in the way you feel and in your body composition. And then you'll start noticing a difference in the way your clothes are fitting, and that's the most important way to gauge your progress anyway. Realistically, the average person is going to lose about 1 to 2 pounds per week. Now, following the detox phase for the first 7 days, or 14 days, or 21 days, whatever you decide to do, you can lose between 5 and 7, maybe upwards of 10 pounds a week, 10 pounds the first week, but you're not going to be losing body fat per se. So that, realistically, the average person is going to lose about 1 to 2 pounds per week. So in a 4-week period, that's going to be anywhere between 4 and 8 pounds. And that's ensuring that you're losing the right kind of weight and you're able to keep it off. So if you haven't had a chance to look at this video on YouTube, I would highly recommend you go to YouTube and do a search for 212 degrees. And look for the latest upload. I want to say it's probably about 8 or 9 months old. But at 211 degrees, water is hot. At 212 degrees, water boils and it turns to steam. And steam can power a locomotive. It's that 1 degree that really makes all the difference. It's that 1 degree. 1 degree makes all the effort. And in this video, they talk about how for the last 25 years, all the major golf tournaments have been won by 2 to 3 strokes or less. And, the difference between Olympians and other competitors is usually half a second. Well, it's that 1% that 1 degree that's really going to make all the difference. It could be one thing that you take away from this program that's going to help you be successful long term. And that's exactly what we want to accomplish. So I want you to think about this. What is the one thing you can do tonight that's going to that's going to set you up on a successful path tomorrow? What's the one thing you can do tonight that's going to help you become successful tomorrow? So think about that for just a second. You know, I know for me personally, the one thing that I typically do before I go to bed is I will make sure that I have my quick and convenient and go-to meals prepared for the next day. That's something I started doing a long time ago, but you know what? The days that I do that, I stay on plan. And when I don't do that, I have a tendency to fall off plan a little bit. And it takes an extra 5 minutes out of my day, you know, uh, before I go to bed, and that helps me set up a set up a successful path for the next day. So I want you to think about the one thing that you can do tonight that's going to make a difference tomorrow. So moving on, I want to talk about blood sugar stabilization, because the whole point of this program is the power of blood sugar stabilization. Your blood sugar, um, which is known as glycogen, is your body's first choice for fuel. Well, your blood sugar needs to be in a specific range. It's somewhere between 80 and 120 milligrams per deciliter. But when your blood sugar drops, your body starts burning muscle and it holds on to fat. And as a result, your energies crash and your cravings increase. This is exactly what happens when people start to diet. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you're satiated, to make sure that you're satisfied. But when your blood sugar drops and the cravings increase, um, chances are you're going to start craving carbohydrates, you know, primarily the processed and refined carbohydrates, and as a result of eating those, your blood sugar is going to spike, and when your blood sugar spikes, you start storing body fat, and it's this vicious cycle that happens all day long. So the key is to make sure that you're eating every 3 to 4 hours, you're balancing your protein, your fat, and your carbohydrates so that you keep your blood sugar stable. When your blood sugar is stable, fat is actually released into the bloodstream. It's absorbed by the muscle and it's used as energy. A majority of fat is actually burned inside your muscle tissue. So if you're not stabilizing your blood sugar, you're not going to be able to release fat into your bloodstream and to be able to use it as an energy source. It's really that simple. So, blood sugar stabilization is just the tip of the iceberg at understanding exactly what's going on physiologically in your body. But it all starts with just stabilizing your blood sugar. So there's 4 different levels of health, and everybody is so focused on, the number on the scale. What you really should be focused on is where your body fat percentage is. And if you don't know where your body fat percentage is, well, I would highly encourage you to find that out. You can come in and see us. We can do it in a matter of a couple of minutes. But you should periodically get your body composition analyzed just to see exactly where you're at. Now, for females, a female is going to be somewhere between 20 and 25%. That's considered a moderate or an acceptable range. If you're really fit, it might be 16 to 19%. That's a little bit harder to maintain, but it is still doable for a lot of females. But 20 to 25 is typically the range that we recommend for most of our clients. And for males, 12 to 16% is a pretty acceptable range. And 8 to 11, that requires a little bit more work, but that's also easily obtainable. Now, for most males, once somewhere between 8 and 12%, that's where their abs will start to show through, and that's where they get really excited. But for males, 12 to 16 is a pretty good range. For females, 20 to 25% is a pretty good range. It just depends on exactly what your goals are and what you want to accomplish. If you want to see striations showing in your muscles, that's going to require a little bit more work. But it's not impossible. I'm here to tell you that you can have the body that you want to. It's just it just depends on how disciplined you want to be and whether or not you're willing to make the changes that are necessary to achieve to achieve those results. So how do you measure your progress? Well, the first thing you need to do is the first way to measure your progress is whether or not your energy levels are increasing. If you're eating every 3 to 4 hours and you're balancing your protein, your fat, and your carbohydrates, I'm going to tell you, you're going to start noticing a difference in your energy levels almost immediately. The next thing you should notice is that you shouldn't be craving sugar as much. Uh, especially when you're eating, when you're balancing your macronutrients or balancing your protein, your fat, your carbs, you should notice that your appetite will start increasing. When you're eating every 3 to 4 hours, you're going to start getting hungry every 3 to 4 hours, and that's a good thing. That means you're increasing your metabolic rate. Your clothes should start fitting looser, and you should start looking leaner in the mirror. And then you're going to notice that your body fat percentage decreases. And then the last thing that you'll notice is that your body weight decreases. Now, some people will see their body weight drop almost immediately, and that's not that's not uncommon, especially during the detox phase. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're losing body fat. Most people are going to see some type of physiological change in their body every 3 to 4 weeks. So that's why we want you to use this measuring system to gauge whether or not you're on track. So there's three different levels of metabolism. There's three different body types. So you have an ectomorph, which is naturally, somebody that's naturally skinny. This is the type of person that can eat a lot of carbohydrates. They've got a really high metabolic rate, and they have a hard time putting on muscle, but they can eat and typically not gain any weight. And then you have a mesomorph, which typically has a little bit more lean muscle tissue. They can work out and all of a sudden they can start gaining muscle. And then you have an endomorph, and an endomorph is somebody that we like to call quote unquote big bone. They're naturally just a little bit bigger. They when they have a tendency to gain body fat a little bit more. It doesn't really matter which body type you have. In fact, you probably just don't have one body type. You probably have a combination of at least two of the different body types, but it doesn't really matter. But what you need to understand is you need to understand that your results are going to be dependent on what your body type is. If you're an ectomorph, you're going to have a hard time putting on muscle. You'll be able to, because you have a high metabolism, you're going to have a harder time putting on muscle. And if you're a mesomorph, you're going to have an easy time putting on muscle, but you also have to make sure that you're balancing your macronutrients appropriately in order to start losing that body fat. And if you're an endomorph, it may take you a little bit longer to lose weight, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So just realize that your results are going to be very different than the next person that's doing this detox. So a lot of people want to blame it on their metabolism, and metabolism really is just a fancy word for activity. It's all the physical and chemical processes that take place within the cells of your body, but it's just the activity that's going on inside of your body, nothing more. But your metabolic rate is the rate at which your body burns fuel. Now, there's a big difference between metabolism, which is your activity, and then your metabolic rate. And that's where the general population is confused, because you can look at muscle and fitness, or what I like to call muscle and fiction, and you may see the title and it says 10 ways to increase your metabolism. Well, what they're actually referring to is your metabolic rate, which is different. So to help you understand this, I want to use this analogy. On the left-hand side, you have this Model T, Ford Model T, which was the first vehicle ever made. And back in the day, it could go, I want to say it went close to 55 miles per hour, and it got somewhere between 30 and 40 miles per gallon, which was pretty good back in the day. And then here on the right, you've got the super fast race car. Well, the super fast race car can go, 220 miles plus an hour, and 220 plus, over 220 miles per hour, and it gets about 3 to 5 miles per gallon. Well, remember, metabolism is activity. That's it. Well, your metabolism is like miles per gallon. Model T gets 30 to 40 miles per gallon. Super fast race car gets 3 to 5 miles per gallon. Well, based on this example, you would think that the race car has a higher metabolism because it can go faster, but that's not true. The Ford Model T actually has a higher metabolism based on this example because it gets more miles per gallon. Now that does change a little bit as you get older. So you may be able to get a brand new vehicle that'll get 40 or 50 miles per gallon on the highway, but then after a couple years it might get 40 to 45 or 30 to 35 to 40 miles per gallon. So it is going to change a little bit as you get older, but your metabolism is set, you know, and that a lot of that goes back to your body type. So there are ways that you can increase your there are ways that you can speed up your metabolism, or AKA your metabolic rate, and it really is this simple: eating quality foods, increasing the frequency of your meals, and drinking plenty of water. That's it. Those are three really simple ways you can start increasing your metabolic rate. And that's just talking specifically about food. Once you start adding in the exercise component, you can turn your body into a fat burning machine. And that's ultimately our goal. Think of your metabolism like a wheel. If you skip breakfast, that wheel doesn't start to spin. But the more often you eat, the faster that wheel spins. And that's exactly what you want to try to accomplish throughout the day. And you want to make sure that you're drinking plenty of water, because imagine that you're shoving food down a garbage disposal and you don't turn the water on. All it's going to do is just clog. It's just going to clog up, and so you want to make sure you're drinking plenty of water to be able to quote unquote flush the pipes. And that's, our bodies don't work exactly like that, but the goal is to make sure that you're drinking plenty of water so that you stay satiated, so you stay full, and, to help with all 101 systems in the human body. So I want to give you a couple of activity and homework assignments. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to think about the three P's. And what are the people, places, or playthings? What are the triggers that are holding you back? They can be people, they can be places, or they can be playthings. So what are the triggers that are holding you back? So, and write them down. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to throw away your scale. If you don't have a scale, great. You don't have to worry about it. I don't want you to literally throw away your scale, but put it in the closet. Just get rid of it for the next 3 to 4 weeks, or for the next 8 weeks. And then I want you to think about what is the 1 degree difference you can make right now. It's that 1 degree difference on the flight of a golf ball that either keeps it in the fairway or causes you to have to hit the ball at least 2 to 3 more times. And then the last thing I want you to do is I want you to watch this video. You can go to YouTube and just type in 212 degrees, and you should be able to find the video. Like I said, it should be the last uploaded video, which is probably about 8 to 9 months ago. So there are your activity and homework assignments. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us in the gym, or you can email us at michael@pgfit.com, or call us at 832-303-7004. So thank you so much for joining, and have a great evening.